for persons within this confines. Now, Sam George also, in his argument, indicated that we need to protect our children who are being targeted. Now, when you our children being targeted in trying to pave way for the dissemination of LGBTQ plus in the country, there are lots of questions to ask. We have Apostle Kusi-Appiah back on the line. Apostle, sorry for losing you in that manner. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, so you were raising a point. You were saying you hope that what were you hoping for?
Right now, I didn't hear you.
Before we lost you on the line, you were saying that you were hoping for something.
Oh, yes, I was hoping you brought something for us from your trip. They told me to travel, so
Yes.
whatever you brought, I'll be in the studio, so make sure you keep mine for me.
I bought holy water for you, Apostle. Don't worry.
I'll come for it. I'll come for it.
Very well. Well, Apostle, now, one of the concerns that I brought from where I visited, I mentioned the South Africa realization that South Africa, in their laws, have permitted gay marriage. Now, when you come to our face, I come back to my homeland and I realize that, hey, this is something that is highly intolerant in our country. But you, as an apostle, what is your general expression on the LGBTQ plus society and their fight for fundamental human rights to be respected?
All right. Thank you very much. And let me also say a very good evening to Terry viewers of Adua TV. I'm glad you mentioned South Africa. I think South Africa in 2006 happens to be the first African country to legalize same-sex marriage.
Exactly.
And they also, put in their constitution to protect against discrimination based on against people based on their sexual orientation.
Yes.
So they did that. And I think we have other 4 African countries that have joined them. We have the Angola. They also in the year 2021, February, this year, they have also followed. Then I think Botswana, also their high court also just recently they criminalized both male and female same-sex relationship in 2019.
Yes.
Then we have Mozambique also in 2015. They also joined. Lesotho have joined in 2010. So yes, we have other African countries who have joined. But the truth is, you see, when you check what is happening, I believe the conversation needs to be based on a lot of things. As you rightly say, you have the religious element, which as a man of God, and I believe most of the pastors, especially Apostle Carolina of the Church of Pentecost, have said that, as you like to quote Apostle Carolina, he said the whole world is a sovereign state owned by a sovereign God, and the creator of the world reserves the right to determine how his creation should live. It is not up to other Christians to show us how we should live. What he's trying to put across is that, you see, recently people were just arguing why if people are just have decided to sleep with what they want or do whatever they like, that doesn't concern us. The simple question is that all these years, even in our laws, we didn't have some of these issues. In terms of maybe people trying to fight anybody. But we know how the West is now putting pressure on our government. Are you getting it? They are not putting pressure. So the question is, if you are playing your drum and you are dancing in your house, which I'm not bothered by, but the moment you are forced to push it into my entrance to come into my home, then I have to fight you back. That's what is happening now. You understand? So I remember I listened to Sam George interview with CNN, and I think they were making reference to the fact that in 2019, a meeting was held about this proper human values. So maybe that brought about this bill. And he said no. The bill is a direct response to their opening an advocacy office. You understand? The moment when you are doing something which is bad, and we are not talking about it, but when you go to that extra mile to now find a way to now move it as like going to do a crusade on it, then we need to now stand up. So this is what is happening now. So we shouldn't look at it as a bit from the fact that, oh, perhaps why are we crying now? We are crying because Now there's a scheme, there's an agenda, a grand agenda to push this on our neck. That's what, if there's one that's all two in one. That's what we see for Sinamita and the rest, they all raise and low. If you don't take time, we'll be there. I was reading something. You know, they have organizations in Ghana here, these gay people. The people, they came in as NGOs. There's one organization that they call Ratify Ghana. It's a local LGBTQ group.
Yes.
The job here is to advocate. There's another international organization called Outright Action International. In fact, I read something I was so shocked. Do you know they have a permanent seat in UN? That's a world organization. Their job is to advocate for this LGBT across the world. So it's a serious thing that we are talking about here. Now, I mean, when you look at this, it has a lot, it has economic implications. Do you know in the last year, 2020, we spent 200 million to subsidize for this anti-retroviral drugs.
Jata says so. Jata highlighted that in the interview.
Yes, and the question is this. Do you know most of these people? Because personally, I went on a sister station, and I mean, they interviewed me on this LGBT issue, and I threw a challenge that as much as some of them have engaged based on even some economic, some of them because of money and other things, we need to find a way to really pray for them. So I did a program for them. Almost all those who came for that program, for the prayer session, almost all of them had HIV. That day I worked, I'm telling you, for the first time in my counseling session, I nearly wept. They were just there telling me their story, how they entered into it, and how they went to the hospital and they were told that they have HIV. So I nearly wept. So it's not a small thing we are talking about here. One, it is draining our economy. You don't know what all this money can do for us. Each year, government is spending huge money just to subsidize for this drug. And we know where this HIV is coming from. You understand? So aside the religious issues, it has economic issues. We are crying for roads. We are crying for factories. And all this is a great, but because now the pressure is coming from those people that, I mean, they're governing the world now. They have the resources. So there's a pressure on our government. So it is important we come together as a country. Because aside the fact that these people, I mean, in the long run, to control this, if we are going to stop creation and all those things, the immediate effect is that we are all suffering, or it is impacting on all of us. We should get it right.
Right. Now, Apostle, there is the aspect of, you mentioned something in your opening statement, you mentioned something about creation, which I want to touch on. Now, I don't know if this has been in existence since time immemorial, but growing up and sometimes observing adult content, you realize a sect called intersex. Now, these are persons who are born with reproductive organs. Sometimes they have both reproductive organs, hormonal imbalances, amongst other things. These are creations. And we say that all creations come from God. Don't you think that, segmenting them into this sect is some form of unacceptance of a natural creation?
Yeah, I'm happy you mentioned this. You know, 50 years ago, all these things you are mentioning were all put under one umbrella for abnormal things. Now the point is this: it's only about intersex. There are people who are born with a tendency to look at women. I mean, recently I did a teacher. I think we were on the station. I was telling people how in parenting we can correct some of this in their children. I mean, as they're growing up, their interest in just looking at the nakedness of women. So I was even making reference to the fact that when you see some of these things, you need to correct it out by finding a way to train this child. For this child to become very good in this, those who look at women, what they name? Hospital, Maria Dr. So that child.
Are you talking about gynecologists?
Yes, gynecologists.
Right.
If you give a this child is a good lawyer, but he can lie, you educate this child to become a good journalist. They will go around looking for information.
Oh no, Apostle. No. Rephrase that, Apostle. I beg you.
I will rephrase. You know what? The person is a journalist, so they get your information. You tell them to send it out. You don't tell them to send it out. They will come and look for fish out for the information and send it out.
It doesn't necessarily mean that journalists lie.
In another part, how do you call that behavior? When somebody comes and fish information for you and send it to the general public. So
in my local language, it's called adafitra news. So journalists break the news. Journalists don't lie.
Of course, but they are not. There's no information you people send it that we are ready. I mean, for that.
Apostle, my colleagues will not be happy with you, but let's move on.
I know, but the point I'm going to put across is that no matter the abnormalities you see or you find in your child, there's a way to correct it. Yes. And don't forget, yes, one patient comes from God. But you see, doctors have even made us understand the kind of food you eat and all the things that some women during pregnancy eat all kinds of things, drink all kinds of alcohol and the rest. And they all impact on the formation of the child. So we cannot rule it out that there are abnormalities. But we need to find a way to now rectify it. We don't say that because this child has a tendency of stealing, so we should just allow the child to be an animal or a thief. No. We will find a way to train the child because we have value system as a country. That's why the bill is about what proper human values. What it is that this person has a very negative human value, but because it's found in the environment of society, let's tell the person. So we should understand.
Well, Apostle, are you aware that recently in the cartoon world, the Superman character that we love so much has now been depicted as a bisexual. Now animated Superman is kissing men in the cartoons. Now these are things that our kids are watching. I am sure that if I didn't highlight this today, you wouldn't have been aware of this.
I was discussing this with my wife just this evening. I'm happy you are bringing it out.
Right.
And it's not only Superman. We were watching this football, this World Cup qualifier advert. And one of the adverts, the gentleman was kissing another gentleman. And my wife was just pointing it out. And just today we were watching BBC. And that issue of Superman came in. So, so she was like, we are not even saying now. So why would they push all this? There's an agenda. There's a grand scheme. You understand? They are trying to push this on us. With every energy they have now. You see, I mentioned about this institution that I said they had a permanent seat in
UN.
In UN. You understand? Do you know when we started with this bill? They held a meeting and their proposal is that they need to use all legal means to make sure that this bill is thrown out. That it will even reach the voting stage. So there's a grand scheme. And that's what I'm saying. Yes, we need to rise. And you shouldn't just say the thing. There's a story of two elephant fighting. And one thing was there. And said, I'm not concerned. So the leg of the elephant got broken. And the medicine market said they need a monkey to do medicine for the what do you call it? The animal that got the leg broken. Now the point is, monkey was there. He thought he was safe. Meanwhile, they use him for the medicine. We are all not safe. The moment we come together and say, okay, we don't care. We sit down concerned. This is something that affects us. Aside that, I don't even want to dwell on the spiritual aspect, man.
We will go there. We will go there. Now, I'm still on the aspect of those who, the I aspect, the intersex people. These are people who by no fault of theirs cannot identify with one particular sex. Sometimes when they are filling forms, they choose other, or perhaps not to say, because they are not clearly male, they are not clearly female. And the church, as one would believe, they say that religion is the opium of the masses. When people lose hope, they look up to religion, they look up to the churches. Now these are people that the church would obviously, these are people that would obviously be looking up to the church. But it seems that the conversation that is coming out sends the signal that we are intolerant, whether it's your fault, whether it happened by birth, whether it happened naturally. Shouldn't we reconsider these persons who by no fault of theirs have no direct sense of belonging, not sexual orientation, but gender?
Right now, you see, when I hear people say we are intolerant, I'm surprised. Right? In my office, as I told you, even the prayer session I held for these people, none of them was stoned or we didn't beat anybody. We understand they are our brothers and sisters. So the church, we open our arms, but we don't support that behavior. We should get it right. We like them as people. They are part of us. But we don't do that. That's the thing. Like I said, the fact that you are my son and you have the tendency of stealing, me, I will love you as a son, but I have to train you, correct you. put measures in place to make sure you move from that behavior of stealing. That's what you're doing. So the church are not, we are not ignorant by not accepting them or receiving them as brothers. We are doing everything. People are telling you the number of people who come to us. Some people come and they have the tendency of stealing, prostitution, all this type of things. We pray with them, we teach them, we do all kinds of things just to correct that behavior. The church is doing that. You understand? But at the point you're brought into where you see how people are now forcing that they are pushing it on us. That's where we are also coming outside our job, what they're doing. To pray and help them to also support this bill. That look, we need laws to because every day is not by laws. As a pastor, I want that I can do to pray and help you. But when people are not making it a legal issue, that look, it's not normal. It is not something that is normal. For I have to know. How can somebody say, yeah, I don't even know where we're going to sleep with. I can decide to sleep with a tree. I can decide to sleep with this. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I don't know how normal it is to you, but from where I stay, it doesn't make sense. And that's why it took control to remain abnormal. No matter how they try, most of the bulls that 50 years ago, they find all these behaviors as abnormal. They are not changing it. To almost echo that good that they use to teach economics and those things that they expect that these behaviors are normal. It's not normal because there's a grand scheme to push it. And we will not after that. I have to say this again. It's not just about people pushing it, but it's not a spiritual issue because there are some people in occultism and the rest. They need because if you tell a human being the animal and the act of the animals is a powerhouse of every human being. If you understand, you understand some of these things. So sleeping with them now, you are drawing power. You understand?
Can you
it goes beyond what the church we are having on.
Apostle, can you explain further when you say the anal part is the powerhouse of?
Yes, in the spiritual realm, you come to get opportunity to speak to these people who are occultism and the rest. To draw power from a human being is through the anus. You understand? So almost any pastors who have engaged themselves in some of this and the power issue, some of them actually sleep with their wife through their anus for their powers. Yes. There are some pastors today, a lot is happening. So people are forcing to make sure that this becomes normal. Right now, if anybody should approach you and tell you that, a man approaches and says, I want to sleep with you, it will sound something. But the way they legalize it, it's not normal. You can't be the person. You can't say anything to a person.
Apostle, now I think that the confusion is clear. That we don't know if the conversation is about fighting for the rights of LGBTQ people or fighting against the legalization of LGBTQ people. Now, when you listen to the lawyers led by lawyer Kusi-Appiah and some academics, they are speaking on the aspects of human rights. Now, human rights, every human being should have access or should enjoy all of these human rights, regardless of their sexual orientation. Because like you said, some pastors, even as you put in the spiritual realm, if they want to draw power, have anal sex with their partners. However, these persons are not being sidelined or inculcated into the LGBTQI. They are living freely, enjoying all the fundamental human rights because they are seen to be married the acceptable way. But what they do behind is unspeakable, of just as you have said. Now, these same LGBTQ plus people are saying that when they think of normal people who have normal sex, they don't think about their sexual orientation, but they think of them as human beings. Can we forego that sexual aspect of their being and consider them as human beings, who are existent, and also fight for their human rights, but not for legalization of their sexual orientation? Apostle?
You see, I don't know much about football, but the little I know about football is that the best form to defend is to attack.
Okay.
When you see that there's a pressure coming on your government to do some of these things, then the best form is to rather. So that's what we are also pushing for the legalization of this, the antidote just to make sure they don't even get the chance to come and legalize it on us. Now, another thing is this. You see, because when they look at us as a movie, not our session. The point is this. When you are a man in living a country, recently some of the police stations, they brought in some people, this and the other people, who have changed their sex. Some were men and now they changed to women. I don't know whether you see some of these people. Can you imagine, I know you in this community, right now, I know you, and the next time I meet you, you are now wearing wig and you have breasts now and this. How do you want me to look at you now?
But Apostle, the Bible says that
I knew.
The Bible says that you should do not judge so that you wouldn't be judged.
I'm not judging you. I'm asking you a question that look, I know Reginald. This Reginald I know. Now next time I come around, I see Reginald wearing wig, earrings and all kinds of things. Now you're a woman. So I want you to look at you now. I look at you based on the person I know. Now unfortunately I can't go Reginald now because how your name too must have changed. You understand? We are defined by our sex. You shouldn't run away from this thing. We are defined by our sex. We understand. So in this conversation, we need to now understand that look, it's not about we trying to attack people that the church will always and will continue to play our role. But as a country governed by law, we need to make sure our laws. I mean, don't forget, almost all the laws that people, most of the laws that we have, they are biblical. That's what the Bible will tell you. That when you arrest an armed robber, you don't preach them, you don't be the person. Mob that you don't. The Bible will tell you.
That I sincerely agree to. I said that in my opening statement that the Constitution in itself is based purely on religion. And yes. However, I want to finally find out from you your thoughts about dealing. You spoke about parenting, but your thoughts about dealing with people who identify as LGBTQI. Now, recently in a video, we saw a father beating up the daughter because he found out that she was a lesbian. Now, in some other news, a pastor was beating the demon out of a person because person was found to be homosexual. What is the best way to deal with this? Should we look at this spiritually, psychologically? How do we deal with, even as we kick against?
Every human being operates on three levels. We operate as spiritual beings. We are psychological beings and we also sociological beings. Three levels.
Right.
And the society also impacts because the election process. So the environment you live in can also impact on you. So if you are a parent, you should understand this. That all this level can impact on you. So whatever a child is putting on a behavior, you need to understand the source. Is it from the environment? Is it a spiritual thing or is it a psychological thing? If it's a psychological thing and you are not a psychologist and you don't understand psychology, you can't help. Because in dealing with some of this, you need empathy, emotional intelligence to even some of these things. So it's not just about beating, you need to put yourself in the person's shoes. Then find a way to do it. But let me also say, I've said it before, that there was a grand scheme to nurture or to even bring out some of these people. That's why we have these single sex schools. Most of these single sex schools, I think with you, these things we are complaining about are normal there. I did a research and most of these girls, when they go to school, their female counterpart write letters to them, proposing to them. I had a friend, some years back, who came back from school and she was as she entered the school, they came out to tell her that a lady got a letter proposing to her, she told her she was not interested. When she went to report to the headmistress, the headmistress was like, then I woke her. And she was forced. So by the time she came out, she was doing engaged in lesbianism. So as my simple person, I keep asking this. As of now, what is the essence of these single-sex schools that we have in this country? That I don't know. I mean, you can go around and do some of this research. Most of the people go there, they come out as gay and lesbian.
Apostle, I'm a product of a single-sex school. Let me indicate, I'm probably not a homosexual. Are you saying that
most because as for the human institution, you can't have 100%.
But you're making
you can't accept it. I'm glad you say you are from there. You can't accept it. You will honest. That's what happens there.
Well, Apostle, let's wrap up on that quickly.
You understand? So my question is yes. From this bill, I think I especially support it. But we need to move further and cross down all the breathing points. Yes, somebody said that they make school to some of these things are happening there.
It does.
The scale. We are talking about the scale. It's a grand scale there. People are, because it's like the environment is choked with this behavior. That if a lady is proposing to you and your teacher is not there to defend you, your headmistress is not there to defend you, it is a strong matter. Then we need to raise up. So, Pastor, my person, what are these single-sex schools doing? It's how we take all to meet schools.
Okay.
My personal, opinion.
Right. Thank you very much, Apostle Kusi-Appiah, for speaking to us. And your gift is certainly waiting for you. So, anytime I see you, yeah?
I'll be there, sir.
Very well. Apostle Kusi-Appiah just spoke to us. His final statement that some of these things stems out from the single-sex schools, indicating that it's high time single-sex schools are converted to mixed schools. So I don't know about you, the Infantipim boys, the Butcher boys. If you would like that Infantipim school would be transformed into, I don't know, Infantipim girls or boys' school. Now, hey, Apostle has spoken, and he indicates that human beings operate in three realms: the spiritual, the psychological, and sociological realms, and in each of these realms there is a manifestation of whatever one could be. Now, it's high time we dealt gradually with these. I leave the dealing of this whole aspect in the spiritual realm to the religious bodies in the country. These same religious bodies, I think, in their bid to fight the sociological aspects, went ahead to compile some signatures to expedite the passage of the anti-LGBTQ plus bill into a law. Now, many analysts have also come out with the conclusion that at this point the hand of the president himself, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is tired, and he finds it difficult to pass this into law, because he could veto the bill into a law actually, but there seems to be a dilly-dally in there. Now, I remember certainly very well that when His Excellency was being sworn in into second term in office, he made a promise to protect human rights. He himself is a human rights lawyer, trained all the way from London, and he indicated that he was going to fight for the rights and of every Ghanaian. Now, this is a time when that promise is actually being tested, and we are hoping to see if this bill, which has several issues that have been raised by lawyer Akoto